I don't want to create excuses.
Sure.
To start off, first and foremost, I cheated, right? I don't want to run around that. That's why I announced it when USADA was coming out. Like, I didn't want to create excuses.
Early on in my career, I used to get really strong post-fight depression.
Just learning everything in the gym and picking up from all my coaches and being there 24/7, 7 days a week. I just got better and better and better, and now I'm back in the UFC.
I got to the arena, I weighed 80 kilos, and like I said before, I didn't know that was him imposing or requesting that. I found that out later.
By giving several athletes lengthy punishments throughout the years, the USADA has significantly contributed to the legitimacy of the UFC. Before placing their firm on the market, UFC executives Lorenzo Fertitta and Dana White wanted to tighten up their product by figuring out how to clean up the public's impression of MMA. However, this was done just before the UFC sold to WME for almost $4 billion in 2016. The UFC cooperated with the USADA to improve their detection procedure and make it more difficult for athletes to cheat to counteract the stigma attached to the widespread overuse of performance-enhancing drugs in MMA. However, this had severe repercussions for certain fighters because punishments may result in sportsmen being suspended for months, years, or even their whole lives. In this video, we will discuss 10 MMA fighters screwed by the USADA. But before we do that, kindly like this video and subscribe to this channel. Let's begin.
I don't want to create excuses.
Sure.
To start off, first and foremost, I cheated, right? I don't want to run around that. That's why I announced it when USADA was coming out. Like, I didn't want to create excuses.
Number 10, TJDILLASHAW. TJDILLASHAW moved down to the flyweight category in 2018 and competed against Henry Cejudo for the 125-pound title to win 2 titles. Dillashaw's reduction in weight class was costly since he showed signs of exhaustion and weakness in the days preceding the title battle. According to a USADA announcement, Dillashaw tested positive for EPO, a high-grade performance-enhancing substance made famous by professional cyclist Lance Armstrong shortly after suffering a first-round knockout loss. Dillashaw initially refuted the allegations, but in the end, he admitted them and blamed the terrible weight loss and the damage it caused to his body for leading him to turn to performance-enhancing medications. Number 9. MIRKO. Never having a positive test result, the icon of pride and UFC heavyweight renown earned his way into the USADA sanctioning list. MIRKO contacted the USADA after an out-of-competition test in 2015 to inform them that he had tried many therapies for a shoulder ailment before his fight with Anthony Hamilton, including injections of human growth hormone, or HGH. Krokop's honesty led to a 2-year suspension that forced him out of the UFC, even if the test did not find the HGH. Filipovic competed in Japan's Rizin promotion until he eventually retired to complete his career beyond the purview of the USADA.
For sure, man. It's been a while. It was nice getting to kind of decompress and just, get out of the game for a little bit. It's been nice just to kind of step away from it, start my business, kind of, take a venture off into a little bit of a different direction for a little bit.
Number 8. Chad Mendes. Mendes was suspected of using steroids for his MMA career due to his remarkable power and great body. After testing positive for a growth hormone in 2016, Chad Mendes' USADA penalty of 2 years came as no surprise to some. Mendes acknowledged his error, but said the positive outcome was caused by a psoriasis cream he was taking, not a medicine that enhanced performance.
Same metabolite, and he started bringing all these things to my attention. He goes, "No, look, this test is invented by this doc. It's only been at that time 2 years old. It was only one person that did the test is based off of one urine sample pool."
Number 7. Frank Mir. A former UFC heavyweight champion, was given a 2-year suspension in 2017 after testing positive during a UFC fight night in Brisbane, Australia. A new USADA test discovered small quantities of tyrannobol metabolites in Mir's system following his defeat to Mark Hunt. Mir vehemently disputed the veracity of the new test findings, but his punishment stayed the same. He was given a 2-year suspension, which led to his removal from the UFC roster.
I used to get, early on in my career, I used to get really strong post-fight depression because I would see what I'd done. So there would be a remorse and I would empathize with my opponent.
Number 6. CHILEWIS-PARRY. CHILEWIS-PARRY was riding the wave of an incredible run in the Glory kickboxing organization and a street fight with Jon Jones before signing with the UFC. In September 2019, Lewis-Perry tested positive for many anabolic performance-enhancing substances during an out-of-competition test. To demonstrate that he had unintentionally consumed the chemicals that led to his failed test, Lewis-Perry falsified a supplement, which only worsened the situation. Before Perry entered the octagon, the USADA chose to suspend him for 4 years because Lewis-Perry had consciously tried to muddy the waters of their inquiry.
Just learning everything in the gym and picking up from all my coaches and being there 24/7, 7 days a week. I just got better and better and better, and now I'm back in the UFC.
Number 5. Francisco Rivera. Bantamweight in MMA, Francisco Rivera was sentenced to a 4-year ban for fabricating data to refute a positive clenbuterol test result. When questioned about his allegation that eating infected meat during a trip to Mexico was the cause of the abnormal result, Rivera submitted fabricated bank documents as evidence of his vacation. Given Rivera's blatant lack of professionalism, the USADA decided to impose one of the worst punishments in UFC history. Number 4. RICARDO ABERU. RICARDO ABERU entered the UFC with a lot of energy and enthusiasm surrounding the talents of the grappling expert after winning 3 gold medals at the World BJJ Championships. The USADA gave the BJJ black belt a 2-year suspension after testing positive for illegal drugs following his first UFC defeat. During his ban, he was tested again. This time, the same performance-enhancing chemicals were found in his system. ABERU decided to retire since he faced up to a half-decade away from professional MMA combat after the USADA issued a 4-year penalty.
Yeah.
Basically,
what did you take?
So I took an off-brand Cialis pill.
Off-brand.
It wasn't actual Cialis, but it was described to me as being a Cialis, and so I thought it was a Cialis, and I just took it.
Number 3. Jon Jones. Jones was experiencing working with the USADA and tested positive after defeating Daniel Cormier by TKO at UFC 217. Despite a long history of drug allegations and failed tests, Jones was hit with his heaviest punishment when the USADA suspended the light heavyweight champion for 4 years. In an unexpected change of events, Jones' term was shortened to 15 months due to his desire to work with the USADA and share information on the MMA PED supply network.
Aqui, como eu falei na resposta anterior, eu achava que não era uma imposição dele. Depois que eu vim saber que era imposição, eu fiquei surpreso.
I got to the arena, I weighed 80 kilos, and like I said before, I didn't know that was him imposing or requesting that. I found that out later.
Number
2. MICHEL PRAZERES. PRAZERES was at one time on an 8-fight winning streak and was gaining ground toward a solid run for contention in the competitive welterweight category. PRAZERES, however, tested positive for anabolic agents in 2019 and was suspended for 2 years. After losing his rematch in 2021, PRAZERES tested positive for various performance-enhancing substances again. He was sentenced to a 4-year suspension, preventing him from competing until August 2025. Number 1. RUSLAN Magomedov. Magomedov, who shares a Dagestani hometown with UFC fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov, is a highly anticipated prospect with championship potential. The 32-year-old heavyweight was given a lifetime suspension in 2019, making it the longest USADA sentence in UFC history. Magomedov was given a 2-year suspension after testing positive for Ostarine in 2016. He tried to make a comeback in 2018, hoping to extend his 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, but once again, he tested positive for various anabolic drugs. When Magomedov refused to participate in a sample collection procedure, the USADA decided to make an example and imposed a lifetime ban. However, this was his final offense. And that's a wrap on the list of 10 MMA fighters screwed by the USADA. Do you think the USADA is right about the suspension and ban of these top fighters? Let me hear your answers in the comments section below. If you still need to subscribe to this channel, kindly click the subscribe button now and like this video. Do make sure to turn on your notifications to receive the latest news on the newest videos as they drop.